Hey, beautiful people. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. I am your girl, Coach TaShon, your marriage communication coach, here to support marriages 7 years plus in bridging the communication gap. Um, I am listen, it has been an eventful day, an eventful week. And tonight, I have the pleasure of bringing on one of the panelists for the Fireside Chat, which will take place September 28th from online September 28th. That's a Saturday from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Listen, get your ticket or tickets. They're only $10, right? I'm sorry, they're only $10. And so it is an online event, and this is my quarterly chat. My quarterly chat um, uh, with couples, wives, and husbands. Last quarter, we had the husbands panel, right? So it's five dynamic husbands on the panel talking about being a husband, bridging that communication gap, health, everything that affects a marriage, right? And it was a dynamic. Oh my goodness, we had such a great conversation. And so this upcoming fireside chat is with the wives, right? The wives. And we're going to talk about bridging that communication gap in our marriage. We're going to talk about what it means to be a wife and so forth, right? So I invite you, if you're a couple, if you're having some marriage communication challenges, if you're having some challenges in your marriage, right? I invite you to come and listen to these wives. These wives have been married over 7 years plus and so forth. They are entrepreneurs, business owners. They are all of that and so forth. So it's going to be a very insightful conversation, right? And if you've been following me, I've been giving you all some tidbits, some tips, some steps, strategies, on building, bridging that communication gap in your marriage 7 years plus, right? If you've been following me, but I do need you all to go ahead and subscribe to that. To the website, IamTrinetteLcollier.com, so that you can keep in touch with the updated information on events and so forth, and the TLC coaching package that is being offered, right? Along with the blog that will give you more details or insight about being a wife and being married and so forth, because again, your marriage is not over. It's not over. I just tell, like, when I tell you it's not over, you just need a little revisiting, a little retweaking of the of your marriage and of your vows, because things have changed over time, right? You've been married 7 years plus. You've been in this thing together for 7 years, right? And more. And so things have changed. You are now empty nesters, or you may have a new one, right? You may have a little one. Even though you've been married 7 years plus, there are a lot of couples who have had their children, later on in their marriage, which is fine. But sometimes it still can, the communication gap can widen just a little bit, because now the dynamics of your family has changed. Or again, like I said, you may be empty nesters, right? So that definitely is a change in your relationship. Listen, anything can affect your communication, right? A lot of times people say, hey, me and my boo are together. Hey D, where are you? You did you click onto the you didn't click onto the link that I sent you. You're not in the studio. Click on the link that I sent you. So that's my panelist. Let me see. But so the dynamics will change, right? They change. And so what happens is, again, we were not prepared for the the changes, and that is what happens. We're not prepared for the changes. And so what happens, we get out of sync, we start arguing, conflict arises, and then we're just like, okay, what happened? What happened? You know? So that's where I come in. That's where I come in with you to give you some steps, some strategies in bridging that communication gap. There she is. Let's see.
Hey.
There she is. Hey, D.
Hey.
Listen, I know, I understand. I understand. How was your day? How was your day?
My day was good. I'm in middle school now, so middle school is middle school is cool, and I'm really enjoying it. I
Yeah,
am grateful for this new venture.
yeah,
Again, it's new and it's not new because I came from middle school before moving to Georgia. So
right.
going back into middle school, it feels like home.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm really enjoying it. The children, the new experience. I'm teaching in a different content area, so it's like
Mm,
first teacher all over again. But I'm still enjoying it at the same time. I have no. Um, I come home every day totally teacher tired, but teacher tired in a good way. Not to the point that I don't want to go back the next day. So that
yeah.
makes sense. I'm always looking forward to going back the next day.
I love it. And before we move on, I want to officially introduce D Leland. She is a beautiful, good friend of mine. We've been friends now over 10 years or so now because we met.
Almost 10, yeah, because we
Yeah,
met it when I first moved to Atlanta in
yeah.
2015. Yeah.
And let me tell you guys, I love watching her, and she understands what I'm saying. I love watching her because she has always been that woman that was very poised, very classy, very just serene. She is like, no matter what comes her way, she she tackles whatever issue, just like she just said, she's teacher type, but she enjoys. There's a difference when you're enjoying and you're beyond that teacher tired. I was teacher tired. I was tired, right? So I got out, right? So she found that she rediscovered that joy in her career, went back, and even as a wife, I've watched her, and I was a part of her wedding. So it was a blessing to be with her on that journey. And I just admire her because she enjoys being a wife,
I,
right? She
I,
enjoys being a wife. Am I wrong? Am I right?
you're
Tell me.
right. You're right.
Because you carry yourself so just the epitome of a wife, and I've always admired that. And so when God led me to ask you to be on this panel, because again, as I was stating before, marriage is getting a bad rap. Being a wife is getting a bad rap, these days. And I know we have, different factors with social media and all of that, but it's so important with this fireside chat to show wives, other wives, that hey, being a wife is amazing. It is beautiful. So listen, tell us who you are officially and what you do. Because I didn't talk. I'm just so excited by you. I love you. Tell us
Okay.
who you are and what you do.
Okay, so my name is Deanna Leland. I am the wife of Mr. Vernon Leland Sr., the
Yeah,
mother of Alexis and Aaron Trey Austin, the grandmother of Lauren, Travion, Paisley, and KJ.
yeah,
And so I'm mama, I'm wife, I'm mama, I'm nana, I'm auntie, I'm evangelist, I'm sister Leland, I'm all of those things. But at the same time, I'm still this Gullah Geechee girl from South Carolina who is still learning her way and still finding herself all at the same time.
yeah,
Grew up in church, so I'm a church girl for the
yeah,
most part. But had been on a journey, have been on a journey, and
yeah,
still on a journey. But at the same time, I'm learning and learning to appreciate myself. I think now, even in my 50s, I'm actually, most of the time they say people come into their self in their 20s and 30s. I think I'm coming into myself in my 50s,
mm-hmm.
just beginning to appreciate all that Deanna is in every facet of my life. So
Yeah.
I'm actually starting to settle in to
Mm,
to Deanna, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, yeah. I like that. So tell us a little bit about your journey because I don't want to give them everything away. I need y'all to go get your tickets to the Fireside Chat
Mm-hmm.
for September 28th from 5 to 7. It's virtual. It's only $10, y'all. And she is one of the guest panelists that will be on the panel for that evening and so forth. And we're going to talk about bridging the communication gap. We're going to talk about marriage, even as a business owner and an entrepreneur, with all of our roles. But tell us, what has your journey been like being a wife?
This is my second. I said this is my second time at the rodeo, but
Yeah.
I think this time, in between my first marriage and my second, it's a 20-year gap.
Mm-hmm.
I married that first time when I was 19.
Okay.
Um, the second time I married at 49.
Mm.
49.
Mm.
So right,
Wait a minute.
so
You said 49.
49. So I got married the first time at 19,
Mm-hmm.
divorced at 29, and then from
Mm-hmm.
29 to 49, there was that period of singleness.
So it's never
That's
too late.
never
It's
too
never
late. No,
never too late. Ooh, I love
never
that.
too late. Um, the 20-year gap, and that 20-year, I wouldn't even call it a gap, but I think it was a time of exploration, a time of
Mhm.
learning, a time to just, you know, I guess in our teens, we always focus on always wanting to be with somebody.
Yeah.
And so this was that time where after my first marriage, where it was, you're going to be by yourself. And not to say that there weren't relationships in between, but
Yeah.
nothing that was long lasting or nothing that would possibly have led to anything.
Yeah.
Um, and then I moved to Atlanta reluctantly. Atlanta was not
Mm.
on my list of places to come.
Okay.
Um, but I'm glad that I did because, and it was funny because when I moved here, the day that I met my husband, I'll tell you,
Mhm.
I was leaving school
Uh-huh.
and going to Bible study, and I was having a conversation with God in the car. I was like, God, I thank you. I said, I'm good. It's just you and me. And I said, Lord, if you don't ever bless me with anyone, I'm good as long as I have you. That
Mm.
was the prayer. That was my honest to God prayer.
Mm.
Um, I was going to the Bible study and going. I stopped to at the Waffle House. It was out in noon, and I stopped at the Waffle House just to
Mhm.
get something. And I was walking out, and in walks the man who ends up being my husband. And we talked that day, and he said, I'm going to call you at this time. And I'm like, whatever. And he did, and he continued to call. And to the point that, we became friends, we built a relationship, and now we are married, and we have been married since 2019. So we've been together. We dated for 3 years before we
Yeah.
got married, and so
Mm.
we've been
Okay.
married since 2019, and we've been through some highs and lows together. And
Yeah.
so if I was to say anybody is down for me, who's gonna hold me down? He's gonna hold me down.
Mm.
Even in this facet of my life where I'm going even more into ministry, he's very supportive of that.
Yeah.
Um, and encouraging me to, and he reminds me, okay, woman of God, and not to say it in a dogmatic way, but just
Yeah.
to remind me of who I am,
Yeah.
and just to keep me encouraged to say, listen, don't let what's going on deter you from what you've been called to do.
Yeah.
So he's very supportive of that. So I appreciate him for that. But with that being said, just marriage in itself, it has this, it's not rose colored glasses. It's not that at all. It has its
Right.
trials and tribulations.
Mm-hmm.
But if
Mm-hmm.
you have someone who is willing to go through those trials and tribulations with you, and someone you're willing to go through those trials and tribulations with, it makes the journey a little bit more, it makes the journey bearable.
Yeah.
Now, if I got to fight with you the whole time we're on this journey, then I don't want to fight the whole time.
Okay.
But we we've learned to navigate together.
Yeah.
With life, we're learning to navigate still.
Mm-hmm.
We're still we're 5 years, 6 years in, but we're
Yeah.
still, there's things that we're still learning because we're both getting older.
Mm,
Um, when we met, I was not in my 50s yet.
yeah.
And so now we've moved on from that. So now we're two mature people, maturer people who are
Mhm.
learning to navigate this stage of maturity in our life. He likes to say we're now both half of 100, and we're
Yeah.
not. We're close. So we're trying to live well, but not die at the same time.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
so we ain't trying to kill each other, but we're still
Right.
trying to live. So finding that balance,
Hmm.
and just learning how to just appreciate life and age and maturity, being in this stage and season of our life where
Yeah.
it's something I can tell a 20-year-old what it's like to be 20, but I
Hmm.
can't tell a 50-year-old what it's like to be 50 because I'm still learning it myself. If that makes sense. So
I love
that's
it.
what we got.
It makes sense. It makes sense because again, this is a new chapter, like literally new chapter.
It
And so
is.
there are new things, when I think about it, I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm 52, and thinking back when I was 25 or even 30, I'm like, oh, my mindset is different. Even about relationships is different.
Mhm.
Like you, this is my second time around. So when I got married the first time, I was in my 20s, and so my perspective was different then. And when I was able to sit out, after the divorce or whatnot, and really hone in. And I always tell people, my ex-husband did what he did, but I also had to learn who I was as a woman. And so that in one of my prayers was, Lord, let me be a new wife and a better wife, in my second go round. If you bless me, with that, and so I want people to understand that marriage is again, it's still a beautiful union. And one thing you did say, you've had your ups and downs, your growing moments, but you two decided to say, listen, we're gonna work this thing out. We're going to bridge this communication gap. We're not going to tackle each other. We're going to tackle the issue, whatever we come up. Because
Mhm.
social media now, it has a way of just showing all of the good of marriage, right? You
Right.
get married, you have your wedding, and you're never being tested by the vows. So when they get tested by the vows, they're in shock and they don't know
Totally.
how to navigate. You know,
Right.
what do
Right.
you say to women um who are in that fantasy land of marriage, that
Keep in
fantasy
mind that
state?
a marriage and a wedding are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
The marriage or the wedding is the event,
Mm-hmm.
but the marriage is the distance. It's the work that you put into it. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, um I'm going to be honest, there are some areas that I am still immature in my relationship and in my marriage.
Mm.
Um there are times where I can be very communicative, and there are times
Mhm.
that I still stumble over my words.
Mm.
I still stumble over expressing myself. And that has nothing to do with my partner. That has more to do with me,
Yeah.
and me dealing with my traumas, my triggers,
Mm.
my past experiences. And so being open and honest about that. One thing that I heard Pastor Mike Todd say, and I've been really using this a lot lately, about being
Mhm.
honest, open, and transparent.
Mm.
That when you're honest and open and transparent, that's where healing can come in. But if there is no honesty, there is no openness, there is no transparency, then we can't be. Even when we come to God, He says, when you come to me, they that worship me must worship me in spirit and in truth.
Mm.
And that you got to worship Him honestly and in truth, open to receive from Him, and then in truth, honestly, to know who He is, and all that He is. And when we are talking about being in a relationship, we have to be honest, open, and transparent. Even in our communication, there are times that your spouse is going to say things
Uh-oh, we lost her. Oh, wait a minute. There she is. There you go. Okay.
There are times that your spouse or your partner is going to say something that could trigger you, but then you have to be at a point where you recognize the trigger and address it right then and there,
Mm-hmm.
rather than falling apart because you couldn't handle what was being said to you.
Yeah.
And so that is my area of weakness still, and I really struggle with that. And um, being the best communicator that I possibly can to him,
Yeah.
even when there are things that are being said that I may not like, that I can still say and not have the argument in my. Sometimes we can have the whole conversation in our head without
Mm-hmm.
having the conversation,
Yeah.
but being able to have the conversation and have the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes those mental conversations be so wrong, so
Mm-hmm.
off.
Mm-hmm.
You've already said what the person's gonna say,
Mm-hmm.
said what you're gonna say. You've already rehearsed what you're gonna say before you even heard what they've said, and then you
Yep.
miss the whole gist of the conversation, and nothing is ever resolved.
Yeah.
So it's important that we practice honesty, openness, and transparency in our
Right.
relationships, and just recognizing those triggers and traumas so that they can really work on improving our communication, because that's important, especially as we're getting older.
Yes.
As
Yes.
we're getting older, we have to be even more honest, more open, and more transparent,
Yeah.
because we're not only were we changing here, but we're changing in our bodies. And I need to be able to tell him what's going on with me. He needs to be able to
Yes.
tell me what's going on with him.
Yeah. Yeah. You're
You know what I
so
mean?
right.
That
Yeah.
we're able to tackle. You're not bearing a burden by yourself when you have a partner. So.
Right. Yeah. I love that. And that's something that we talked about with the husbands on the last fireside chat, which was the husband panel. And one of the questions we were, some of the wives were able to ask, it's like the whole health thing. Like, why don't y'all communicate, what's going on with you in the health? And it was the answers were, across the board were consistent, and it is that communication. It's like, yo, we're getting older, we need to know these things. So all of that, all of the communication part is a huge factor. And not
Mhm.
only communication, but the comprehension. We can talk, we can say, but are you really understanding what your partner is saying? And like you
Right.
said, we have to learn how to be actively listening. And this is something I talk about in coaching with the couples. You have to actively listen to your partner. That means not have your answers ready. Wives, do not have your answers ready when your husband is trying to communicate with you. You have to
Mhm.
literally sit back and take it all in and listen so you can get the full gist of the conversation. Because if not, we'll go into that assumption mode, and then you're recycling that conflict and so
Right.
forth. Yeah,
And
yeah.
you keep bringing up the same dead things. The same dead things keep
Woo.
coming up because you say you've missed what this person is trying to say.
Mhm,
Like,
mhm,
I remember reading this book, How to Dealing with Difficult People, and
mhm,
I remember it says there the one of the tools, it says that when a person is done talking, then you say, "Thank you for sharing.
mhm,
What I heard you say was," and
mhm.
then that way, again, you're taking ownership of what you heard, but then you're allowing that person to then clarify or correct what you heard,
Yeah.
rather than you just running off with what you thought you heard. So I
Mhm.
think that incorporating things like that in our communication bucket or in our baskets is important, because then again, it helps to bring about understanding. Because you
Right.
always want to have peace. At the end of the day, the goal is, I don't want to be right, but I do want to have peace. It doesn't matter
Yes.
if I'm right. I just want to have peace.
Oh my gosh. I think that is the ultimate goal in your relationship, in your marriage. You want to have peace, as I've shared before, and with the steps your end goal should be peace and unity. We don't have time to fight with each other. We don't have time. And you want to tackle the issue, not tackle each other, you
Right.
know? And
Right.
I believe that if our marriages, if people surround themselves with those thoughts and understanding, they will have a better understanding of their marriage. It's like
Right.
at your end goal, you love each other. You've been in this thing a long time now. Your end goal should be peace. At the
Right.
end of my day, I want to look at Chef and say, you know what? We got through this thing. We've been through some things and we got through this, and that means we can overcome other things,
Other. Right.
And so you have to make that decision, that declaration that you're
Right.
gonna do this together and so
Right.
forth. Yeah. I love that. Listen, I don't want you to give away too much because they're gonna need to get their tickets for
Yes.
September 28th. But before we leave, before we wrap up, I want you to give what is that one piece of advice you would give to any wife who feels like they can't do this anymore. Yeah, we've been together for a while. Things are changing. I don't know if I'm communicating with my husband. I just really don't know. And I want you, what encouraging words could you give to a wife that is watching this now that may be like questioning herself or her marriage, all because she may be thinking like the communication is broken, but I don't know what to do. What encouraging words would you leave for a wife?
I'm going to take it from a teacher standpoint, I guess, in the sense of, I was encouraging another person the other day, and I was like, mark the progress.
Mm-hmm.
Um, every day is not going to be a perfect day, but
Mm-hmm.
remember that why you did it, why you said yes when you said yes. Now, if your yes was from a pure place, then of course, that makes a difference. But
Yeah.
the Bible, Paul says that I have not yet obtained, but
Mm.
he said that I press. And marriage requires a press, because remember that this is a relationship, not just between you and that person, but this is a triangulation. This is God, your husband, and you.
Mm. Yes.
So when you give up on your marriage, when you're giving up on the power of God, you're giving up on God's authority in your marriage. That
Mm.
you're giving up on God is no longer the head, you've become the head. And if
Mm.
God is the head of your marriage, and if
Mm.
this is the marriage you believe that God has ordained, then press toward the mark.
Mm.
Every day is not supposed to be perfect. We don't get up every day and the sun is always shining. We
Right.
don't get up every day and we've got we don't have the weather like we had today. We
Mm-hmm.
don't have sunny days every day, but we still go to work. We
Yeah.
still do the things that we want to do. So why is it that when it comes to this one thing, this thing that is God ordained, this thing that has been blessed by God, that you stood before God
Mm-hmm.
saying that I will stick it out for, that when you have a storm in this thing, that all of a sudden you want to abandon the ship?
Mm.
This is where you press in even more to God. This is where you press in even more to the Word of God. And in your relationship, this is where you press even harder on your knees, or press even harder
Mm.
on toward that relationship, because it is the thing that
Mm-hmm.
God has blessed. And I believe that marriages can be blessed if we allow God to have his rightful place. But when we push him out of the place, then of course we are asking for chaos, because God is no longer in control. We are. So I would encourage you to
Mm.
press. You're not going to obtain it all. But
Yeah.
Paul says, I have not yet obtained, but I press. So
Mm.
every day that you go through, it's a press, pushing toward the goal. I press toward the mark of the high calling. I press toward the mark of a better marriage. I press toward the mark of being a better wife. I press toward the mark of better communication. I press toward the mark of a deeper love. I press
Mm.
toward the mark of that thing. And it will happen, but it requires a press.
Mm. Wow. Words spoken by Deanna Leland, Mrs. Deanna Leland. I love that. I love that. And I pray that whomever is watching, that they will grasp it, will receive that, because again, I love being married. I love, being a wife. I'm learning more and more as I get older. And I just want everyone, I want other wives to understand that it's an enjoyable, um, an enjoyable time. And I feel like when they see you all on this panel, when you get your tickets, beautiful people, get your tickets. When you see these beautiful wives on the panel talking about marriage, giving us the real conversation, just as though Dee Dee gave it today, giving that real conversation, that honest conversation, as she stated, being honest, open, transparent, even in our conversations with other wives, you're going to have a different perspective on bridging that communication gap with your boo. I guarantee you, because you're going to look at things, because these women, I told you, I don't mess with janky folks now. These are women. These are women who stand by and they know, like, listen,
She's a real deal. She is. She is.
these women right here, they're not going to just tell you, oh, no, these are phenomenal women. That's all. I mean, get your ticket. I'm just trying to tell you, get your ticket. It will not be live broadcasted publicly because it is, again, it's an intimate space. It is limited tickets, intimate space, because we want to have that conversation and so forth. So get your tickets. The link is right here, scrolling through. I am TrinetteLCollier.com/events. They're only $10, you guys, $10. So get it so you can get more of Mrs. Leland and the rest of the crew on September 28th. Listen, I am so happy to see you as always, and so happy to have you tonight. And I can't wait to see you again on the 28th.
I look
And
forward to it.
I love you so much, and just
You
keep
too.
being that example. You have inspired me over time, and I'm just so blessed to have you in my life. So thank you, thank you, thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
So, beautiful people, you heard what I said. Go ahead, get those tickets, and and let's connect. Let's connect. All right. I am TrinetteLCollier.com/events. And if you're ready to bridge that communication gap in your marriage, go ahead and connect with me with the TLC coaching, couples coaching. You can also find that on the website as well. So listen, go ahead and enjoy this evening. Make sure you hug and kiss on your boo
I
tonight.
will.
Okay.
I sure will.
Make sure now. All right, y'all. All right. So listen, thank you so much, girl. Oh, excuse me. I will talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Good night.
Bye, beautiful people.